Pokémon. It's one of the highest grossing media franchises for a reason. With many different ways to enjoy the beloved series, its most recognizable part has to be the creatures themselves. With over 1,000 Pokémon, there's bound to be enough variety to fit everybody's wants. But what if you couldn't use over 1,000 Pokémon? What if you could only use the bug types you get on Route 1 and that everyone ditches when they get 6 better Pokémon? This is the concept for a tier I've put more than enough time into. I am Kizaco, and this is Winsect Cup.
Winsect Cup is a competitive 4v4 singles format where, as mentioned earlier, you can only use the early route bug-type Pokemon. This list of Pokemon is incredibly limiting, so it lets any overlooked bugs really shine. If this sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to jump in blind with the Discord linked in the description. But if you don't want to jump in blind, stick around because I'm going to be discussing the meta in this video. But we have to set some ground rules first. No good Pokemon metagame can exist without bans. Obviously, there's not that many extra bans outside of your regular Smogum bans and everything that is not an early route bug type. I'd like to note here, early route bug types, no Scizor, no Volcarona, no Golisopod for everyone who remembers Golisopod, and none of their pre-evolutions, so no Scyther, nothing like that. The only 4 banned early route bug type Pokemon are actually Lokix, Centiskorch, Vivillon, and Scolipede. I don't care if I'm pronouncing those incorrectly. They all make sense when you think about it, because either you have speed boost like Scolipede, accurate sleep powder like Vivillon, just fire stab like Centiskorch, or Lokix, which was just really broken because it had a super high attacking stat. And one more thing, the tier's played at level 35. Why? Why not? The meta is defined by 5 Pokemon, which sounds pretty simple, but considering you can only run 4 and the wide array of good but not meta-defining Pokemon, it's unlikely you're going to use 4 of the 5 on one team together. Most likely you're going to be using 2, or maybe even 1. But let's get into the 5th place Mon, shall we? At number 5 is, with a 31.25% usage rate, is Masquerain, my personal favorite. I'm not biased. While it looks like an open and shut case because it's a Quiver Dancer that gets Flying Stab in a bug-type tier, that's not all it does. It has a lot of other good sets. For example, Intimidate Chilling Water to cripple the physical attackers of the tier. Now you might be wondering, I don't remember any physical attacking bugs. Well, now I'm going to introduce you to one with our number 4. Number 4, Sizzlipede, sitting at a comfortable 34.38% usage rate. You might be thinking that the main fact it's popular is that it's a physical attacker with Fire Stab. And you'd be right. But it has a few other things too. It gets Roll Out, which helps cover anything that's neutral to fire, and it does a lot of other good things. It's not just carried by its Fire Stab, although that certainly helps. It's pretty meta-defining, forcing quad-weak Fire Mons like Levania or Madame Grass, if you're even using that, to run an Octoberry just for it, because there's no other Fire-type Mon in the whole tier, and Hidden Power's banned, so there's no way to get any coverage like that. Speaking of Mons that are forced to run an Octoberry because Sizzlipede, our number 3. Number 3 is a sister to the unusable Wormadam Grass, Wormadam Trash, with a 37.50% usage rate. You might think that this makes no sense because it's literally called trash, but it's this high for a few reasons. One, it has the potential to run an offensive Quiver Dance moveset, although that's pretty uncommon and it's more of a surprise factor moveset. It also gets Stealth Rock, which you can obviously assume to be good in a meta dominated by bug types. And you'd be right, but it gets a lot of other good things too. For example, Overcoat, which makes it immune to sleep, which sleep's a pretty dominant strategy, considering all the Calmpondai sleep powder running around. But it also is a flying neutral Mon, which I personally, the person reading the script, also refer to as a flying resist, because there's no other flying neutral Mons in the whole tier except for a few others that we'll get to in a second. It's very good, and actually its defensive typing helps with the number 2 threat in the tier. The number 2 Mon is Ribombee with a 46.88% usage rate. This might seem like what Masquerain wasn't, a open and shut Quiver Dancer. However, if you play this tier, which you should, link in the description, it runs many other sets. It has a lot of traits that help it, like its immunity to sleep, its access to the best hazard removal in the tier, and it being the fastest thing in the whole tier. But it's most common on its Choice Specs moveset, which is obviously the fastest thing in the whole tier, like I said, with no speed boost obviously. It makes it a very threatening mid and late game sweeper because if anything's chipped down, you can probably one-shot it, because it is very powerful. In fact, its power rivals are number 1 Mon, which I should probably get to. Actually, it can wait, let's go over some honorable mentions. Butterfree, Sleep Powder, Quiver Dance. I feel like that's like I've joked about, oh, it's Quiver Dance, but not actually. No, that is pretty much its main set. Orbeetle is the bulkiest thing in the meta. That's it. It also has pretty good offensives and a great move pool, which is pretty good. Its only thing is it's neutral to a lot of things and it's weak to bug. Guardian finds its place as a choice Scarfer with Stab Air Slash, being able to 1 or 2 KO most of the meta. You should check out our short about that.
For Madam Sandy is an amazing Pokemon that is totally not just a subjective opinion, it is a fact. It gets rock coverage, it gets stealth rock, and the only reason it's not used more is because Wormadam Trash, which takes its place because of Species Clause and also has a similar role to it, is one of the most popular Pokemon in the metagame. Ariados finds its place in the meta as an underused or pretty terrifying setup sweeper. With a combination of Sniper, Scope Lens, and Focus Energy, it can guarantee a critical hit every single time it decides to use a move, and can ignore defense boosts such as Screens or Iron Defense. Also, having access to Sucker Punch is pretty good in the tier where that's mostly lacking priority because Low Kicks is banned. Nimble has a niche because it's a first impression user, but it's generally not that good. It's probably, out of all of these, it's probably the least used honorable mention. Whirlipede actually gets some usage because it's one of the bulkiest Pokemon with Eviolite in the tier, and it also gets Rollout, which helps to snowball with its speed boosts. But enough beating around the bush, I know what y'all are here. What is the most popular Pokemon in the entirety of Winsect Cup? And, well, it's not what you're gonna expect. The number 1 most used Pokemon in Winsect Cup at the time of writing the script and recording is Vikavolt. You might think I'm kidding, I'm not. It's used in 68.75% of casual games and 75% of competitive games. It's so popular that using it and Charjabug is pretty common, honestly. It's pretty bulky, it has flying neutrality, which as I said is pretty good in the tier. It gets Roost Air Slash, it gets Agility, it gets All Toxic, it gets Thunder Wave. It has such a diverse move pool that honestly, it's pretty hard to handle. If you play your cards right, it very often does decide games, being the hardest unboosted hitter in Winsect Cup. It's not the most controlling thing in the world, it's been suspected for a ban, but it has not actually been banned yet. But it's pretty much required to perform well. And with that out of the way, that's pretty much everything you need to know about the tier. It's still very new, but it has a great community, and I think many more people need to know about it. There's going to be a tournament in about a week from when this video goes live if I play my cards right. And there's a lot of other things in the tier that I haven't even mentioned yet. Comment down below what you want to see from the tier, do the things under the video, subscribe if you want to see more. It's been Kizaco, and I guess see you later.